and you force them out. However, I think I could support term limits on the basis of two Senate seats, or two Senate terms, and 6 congressional terms. That would be 12 years. Right, 12 years is a respectable amount of time to accomplish a great deal, and I think I could go with that. I don't like the idea of short terms because too much chaos, too much turnover. There's a happy ground. Right now, we have 8 years on the president. I get that. Sometimes that bothers me. Sometimes it doesn't. But I think 2 Senate terms and 6 congressional terms, I could support that. It wouldn't hurt. But we have other major problems in our electoral system that need to be fixed. Besides that, the system is simply broken down. It doesn't function in the 21st century, and the political courage to really change it. Well, I mean, we have the most cowardly political class.
No.
We'll probably ever see. I mean, it's just striking. I'm not saying there aren't individual pockets of extraordinary courage. I'm just saying, collectively speaking, it's a political class of greedy cowards.
Well,
that's not healthy. That's not good.
I can honestly say, in this administration, I've never seen so many people resign and walk out as that I have seen since this administration has been in office.
Yeah. It's a problem. 2 kinds of people are resigning. Good people that can't take it anymore, and bad people that know their time is up. And it pains me when the good people do that. But the fact is, there's plenty of other good people that could replace them if they chose to do so. But yeah, the number of people that is pretty high because it's awful. The politics of America has been pretty bad since '64. It's been awful. One crisis, one scandal, one catastrophic mistake after another. And if it wasn't for the fact that we have an extraordinary country with an extraordinary constitution, which needs some modifications, and we would have survived this. And we almost didn't. We almost had a nuclear war on about a half a dozen occasions between 47 and 91. A lot of people, some people know that, some don't. Everybody thinks about the Cuban Missile Crisis and how close we came, and we came pretty close. But there have been others.
Oh, yeah.
Frankly, if we were to replay the 20th century over, if we could do this in some multiverse, right? And we were to replay the 20th century over 10 times, I think between 5 and 7 of those times, there would have been a full-out nuclear war and the destruction of human civilization, leaving people wandering around in darkness, praying for death. So we got lucky. We may not be so lucky the next time. And so if we don't get our act together, I'm just a poor political activist with not enough money to spit who is trying to help bring about a paradigm shift by finally announcing that there's an extraterrestrial presence, kind of like Copernicus was trying to inform people, guess what, the Earth is not the center of the universe, believing that this paradigm change could in fact trigger an age of reform and reassessment and worldview change, which could lead to what we need, where we need to go. That's about the best thing I can do. And I'm running out of time because I'm not getting any younger. But at least I'm able to help in some way. And I'm grateful for that. I could use a little more funding, but these days, all you need is a computer, free Wi-Fi, and you can raise hell.
Oh, yeah. That's what I do with my show. You know, when I started this show, just a little bit about me, when I started this thing 14 months ago, when Art, called me up and said, hey, get off your motorcycle and get back on radio. Starting on, I was always on commercial radio. And, I was literally computer illiterate. So I had to learn all this stuff, really fast. I remember when I first got on, I called up Art, after 2 weeks. I said, Art, this is not working out. I got 15 people listening. I mean, and he says, give it time, and it seemed like in the last 2 months, it's just like, woof, they're there. But, people are starving for this information. I'm really into, the UFO type of thing and ETs and, I still tell people I don't think the ETs are as friendly as they think they are, and I don't think, or at least the majority of them might not be, and they're not, smiling at us and bubbling orbs and stuff like that. I don't think it's quite like that, because I've seen some images. I have people I know that are in various government agencies, or were, I should say, and they send me pictures occasionally, which kind of like alarm me. But, I think disclosure has to come. It will come. And even if it makes our government or our military look bad for lying for so many years, it needs to be out.
Well, you mean that our government doesn't already look bad for lying? I mean, that's not going to change anything. But
it's fake news. Remember that.
Let's be clear. Let's be clear. Let me restate that. I would suggest that people will learn that the ETs are neither as bad or as good as they think they are. Right. But they will not be particularly upset. They're going to be relatively happy, I believe, with the outcome. By the way, Gary, are you on internet, regular radio, or both?
Well, right now, I'm on one radio station in California. They're testing me. In January, I'm getting hooked up, I hate to say it, up to maybe 300 stations. So that's going to be a major thing. We're based right now, internet. Our average downloads and listenership is about 250,000 per show.
Okay. Now, so let me make a very important point here. First of all, if you're going to go on 300 stations come January, make damn sure you get me back on in January of next year. But the internet radio, which was broadcast.com. I mean, that's what really got that going, which of course is what made Elon Musk, right? So, the internet radio was far more powerful than people ever understood. So you have all of these. I've done I've done way over 1,200 interviews, most of which is internet radio. I've done more interviews on this subject matter than any other person living or dead, but because of my timing, and because I never refuse. So, internet radio. I've done shows where nobody knows how many people were listening. Could have been 10, 50, 100, 500, 1,000, 2,000. Who knows? But there was a difference, a profound difference. So you go and do an interview on some radio show in 1955. You get on for a while, you say something. Or you actually get on NBC News, 1969. And then it's put in a vault, and it's gone. And in due course, you couldn't even find it again. Starting with internet radio, that all changed. And so I've done 1,200 interviews. And the vast majority of those interviews, I don't care how many people were listening, they were archived. Now, the broadcast.com archives of the early Bell shows somehow got sidetracked. I don't know where the hell they are, but I hope to God one day somebody goes and finds them, buys them, and gets them back up on the net. And that was a tragedy. But all I can say is this. What happens is you're on with a show, maybe 200 people are listening to it, but the thing gets archived, and it stays up online for access. And more importantly, it generates a hyperlink. And so now you put my name in, and these shows are coming up. Boom, 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 boom. That is a whole different ballgame. And so the power of internet radio is people have yet to really, truly come to understand how powerful it is. Now, there's another kind of radio that's powerful. And that is what we'll call drive time radio. Now, again, there's always been radio, there's always been talk shows. But over the decades, particularly starting around 1970s, early 80s, and 90s, the number of people in their cars driving to and from work for the number of hours has grown exponentially to billions of person hours spent in commuting in cars with a radio. And so what happened is the propagandist smartly realized, wait a minute, if we can command talk radio. We have an unbelievably, almost a trapped audience. And if we focus on that, we can change the world with billions of hours of information being available to them, as opposed to watching or listening to music over and over again, the same music. And so drive-time commuter radio became one of the most significant factors in the political landscape of America going back to about 1990.
Oh, yeah.
And the tragedy of this is that the vast majority of this information was propaganda. And so you have had billions of hours of propaganda pumped into the brains of people, good, honest people, just trying to get to and from work, taking longer and longer every year as the traffic got worse and worse. Billions of hours of propaganda. And the effects of that is going to take several generations to repair.
Oh, yeah. You're so right. But going back to internet and archives, even my show, I got, I cleaned up some shows and took them off. But, people can go and listen to 271 hours of my shows.
Bingo.
For free. They can just go onto my website and, listen to you each time you've been on. They can listen to, Timothy Cullen. If they want to, it's all broke down. If they want to listen to UFOs or whatever, they find it. And, that's what's nice about it. You can find the stuff, which I hate to say, like when Art Bell originally was doing his show back in the 90s and stuff like that. I mean, it's not very little of it is archived. And I hate to say it, some of it is in a vault with a network, and it probably will never be released.
He was moving in that direction, and there was stuff happening. But it was recorded. And it was there. And eventually it would have ended up where you have what you have now with George Norrie. That was inevitable. But a lot was lost. But then look at George Norrie. Look at Coast to Coast. If you look at it this way, if you, based on what you just said, if you keep growing, right, and you get on all those stations, not too distant future, your stuff is going to be archived, but it's going to be archived behind a little pay window there, little pay portal, like George Norrie, like Coast to Coast, and then you're going to be able to finally buy that beach house that you've been wanting for so many years.
Oh yeah, yeah, but that
I'm serious.
I actually, to be honest with you, I have turned down. I've been, offered here recently, even before this deal came up, to go on like 15 stations. But the thing is, all of a sudden, my website was going to be controlled by them. The archives would be controlled by them, and yeah, I get a paycheck. But I make a point, just like you. I run my show. I'm retired, and that's what I stressed to Art Bell. I'm retired, and when we originally talked, and I run the show basically on donations, and I tried at the start. I had a couple advertisers, and all of a sudden, after about a month or two, they started dictating to me who I could have on my show, who I couldn't have on, and if I had the people they didn't want on, they would no longer advertise on my show. When I had that approach by a major company, I told them, you know what? I don't need your business. And that was the end of the advertising.
That said, Gary, the future of information is pay portals.
I know.
Whether it's the New York Times or Time Magazine, it's Netflix. You're going to have the equivalent of Netflix and news and everything else. It's all about pay portals and not advertising. Advertising is on its way out in a lot of ways. We've heard so much of it. We turn the sound off on our remote. We can skip by it using TiVo. We've got two channels up at the same time. We just flip back and forth. People are doing everything they can to get away from it. And it's like the same thing with say newspapers, right? The future of paper newspapers is inevitably going to be gone because the internet is more powerful and cheaper and makes more sense. Same thing with advertising. The future is pay portals. And so find your path, and technically there's no reason why one day you will not have a show with archiving and a pay portal